It's time to soothe, groove, and move those hidden innuendos. Hello, and welcome to the program. I can't tell you how many people are looking forward to this episode. I was telling them about you too, because normally I get a lot of broken hearts, which is fine, which is what I love. My passion is heartbreak. But when I told them about your story, they're like, oh, I got to hear this. So everyone's super excited to hear this amazing love story. But like I always like to kick it off here, Doralee and Sean, I want to thank you both. Oh, passing the shoot.
Yep. And actually, these are our wedding glasses my sister had engraved.
Oh, well, hey, yeah. I want to make a quick toast to you two. Thank you so much for coming on tonight. And I also want to make a shout out to Kira and to Andrea. So thank you to all four of you. Appreciate you. Cheers.
Thank you. Cheers.
So I have to ask you guys, how many times have you told this story to people?
Only once or twice. No. quite a few.
Okay. Is it okay if you say it like for a third time?
Oh yeah.
Okay. Because like I said.
Well, I mean, even before our love story went viral, we would be in a social situation, and like a girlfriend would be like, these are the people I told you about who got married after 111 days, and they're absolutely amazing, and you got to hear them share their story. So
yeah. So we would love to hear that, if that's okay with you. Like, tell us, what, as far back as you guys want to go.
All right.
Probably start at the beginning.
Start at the beginning?
Yeah.
Like the very, very beginning? When I was figuring out what I wanted?
Yeah. I think that shows a good part of what is necessary to find healthy connection.
Okay. So I was in a relationship that was not what I wanted. And I kept focusing on I don't really like this. I'm not happy with this. And then I realized that was a negative mindset. And I wanted to find a positive mindset. So if I don't like this or that, and it's like, I don't like feeling this way, or what do I want to feel in a relationship? What am I hoping for, and all encompassing in a partnership? And I sat with that thought for quite some time, and I wrote out a list of wants that I had in a relationship. And number one was emotionally intelligent and available with a growth mindset.
Yes.
I know. And my friend said, my God, Doralee, you want that in a man? You're never going to find that. Yeah. And I said, well, it's number one. If you don't have that, there's not even consideration. And to put things into perspective, when I showed it to the person I was with and had been living with, he looked at it and said, well, if this is what you want, clearly I'm not your person. I should have run.
After how many years? How many years were you guys dating?
So we dated for 4 years. We were briefly engaged. I ended up calling that off, and we continued to date for another 2.5 years, lived together, took vacations with the kids type of, he was very present, but emotional intelligence has to be number one.
And did he have children of his own too?
No.
No. Okay. Interesting.
No. But I should have run, but at that point, I was not healed. And I thought, well, I've invested, 3 years with this person. The relationship ended up lasting 4 years, but I've invested 3 years. Right. And I kept trying to get my relationship wants out of this. And then I said, I'm going to be doing the same thing and expecting a different result. And that's crazy.
Sure. So during the time of the transition of the breakup and then before Sean, how much time did you give yourself to completely heal through that difficult journey? Because that's gotta be hard, right?
It was hard. And I had a phrase, no D before the V. I was going on vacation, but that's I wasn't even going out on a single date. That's what I meant by the D. But I had no interest. I was reading books. I have books stacked everywhere. I was going to yoga. I was journaling every single morning. I have 2 journals, and one journal is something that I'm releasing, and it's each one is a 1-sentence entry. So on Monday morning, I release the thought that I am not deserving of a love that I want. And then I write a calling in. I am worthy of the love that I want. So I am letting that negativity go and calling it in. And I spent the same amount of time because Sean ended.
Yeah, both of our paths leading up to this were very parallel. I was in a 4-year relationship and engaged as well, with very similar aspects of the relationship that weren't working for me.
Like what, if you mind me asking?
Just similar things of not having like the ideology, not having the same love language, and then putting in a lot of effort and strain to have someone meet me there and not be met there.
Right.
Just because there's an incompatibility there, and sort of along the same lines of childhood trauma type things of I need to work and earn the love of someone, and that it can actually be given freely and effortlessly in the right context. So I went about a full year of focusing on myself in the same manner through like therapy, working out, taking care of myself and my 2 daughters, and just not really thinking about dating at all.
Yeah. When you were going through that, Sean, and I'm sorry that happened to both of you, by the way, but in a way I'm not, because look what happened.
Yes.
Right.
But like for you, Sean, as a male, because I went through a very similar situation with a woman who I loved and broke my heart. Correct me if I'm wrong, but did it really hurt, like to the point to where you just felt like the lowest possible, like down the bottom of the totem pole, where you felt like there's no way up because you felt like you were drowning in emotions? Like for me, I thought that I was never going to heal. But how long did it take you to wake up and say, you know what, I'm healed. I'm ready to take on the world?
Yeah, so it's interesting you say that, and talking about going through that pain, I think that's what's really necessary to having the breakthrough and letting go of all of those things, to realize that there is the compatibility out there, and to find it naturally and organically and not be working for the love and affection. So I did go through like a mourning period and feeling down in the dumps, like this is it. But it's also allowed me to reflect and ask what about myself am I putting out there, and what am I creating where I'm allowing myself to be in a long-term relationship that I'm essentially unhappy in.
Right.
And changing my own patterns and behaviors and working on my own health to facilitate that.
Yeah. And did you two do any online dating after the breakup?
I did
No?
very
Oh, wow.
briefly, which is kind of a little offshoot on the story about our first date. I really didn't care for it. There's a lot of like, you match with someone, there's some dialogue back and forth, and it's all felt very shallow, and just not meaningful conversation. Like, what's your favorite color? What's your favorite cake?
What is your favorite cake, by the way?
Yeah, if cheesecake. If I were to fast forward to a glimpse of once we went on our first date, which we can backtrack to, but I had made the intention, if I'm going to pursue someone and they're going to pursue me, I'm not interested in this short dialogue of what's your favorite color. If we make plans, I'm going to meet you in person.
Yes, but I thought he was ghosting me.
So anyways, we'll get to the story of meeting, but we exchanged numbers. I text her, I'd like to go on a date. This is the time and the place. And then I just let it go out into the universe, and I didn't text her until the day of the date.
Yeah. And
because I want to talk about that because so correct me if I'm wrong, but you guys met at both your kids' school, correct?
Yes. Well, and so
Got me.
he gets my hair all over.
By the way, Sean, I love the hair, bro. Like,
oh my God.
Thank you.
Yeah.
We were at the baseball game, and someone comes up to him and says, "Does anyone do you go one day without someone saying, 'God, look at your hair'?" It's
hey
beautiful.
Man, hey, cheers to that for having hair at our age.
But right before we get to the point of the first interaction, me writing down the list of relationship wants was really the foundation for looking inward. And when I was ready to conceptualize dating, that's when I took it one step further. And instead of what I wanted in a relationship, I wrote down everything I wanted in a man, like my ideal partner.
Can you give me like 3? Do you remember like any of the top 3 or 5?
Oh, absolutely. Emotional intelligence and availability. Witty conversationalist, likes to play card games, hopefully cribbage, not head games. Outdoor enthusiast, not tied to like social media or a cell phone. Okay. Because ironically, when we met, I didn't even have social media. I still don't have Instagram or Facebook. I just have what's no longer a secret, TikTok, because people in my community know about it. But so I wrote down this list of things that I wanted in a man. And 3 days later, I spotted him.
Look at that. She stalked you.
Yeah, 3 days. Yeah, I saw him, and it was really interesting because it's like the school building, parking lot, greenery, shrubs, right? Like just like a strip of grass. Okay. And I'm pulling into the school, and there is this tall drink of water who's just kind of like grounded, looking down. It's like, who is that? Well, it turned out it's Sean, and his daughter lost a hat. And so he was over there like against all of the green and just stood out. But he was there looking for his daughter's hat.
And Sean, like, oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was gonna say, did you notice Doralee? Did you notice that there was like some type of shadow, like looking at you or watching you from afar?
No, not at that point. I was really focused on trying to find the lost hat.
You're focused on that, yeah.
I remember it was like a Thursday or Friday, and it was just like a really nice day. I had left the gym, and I was just very present and happy to look for my child's hat. Little did I know it would lead down a different road, but
yeah.
So like you had no recollection, or you never saw her ever until and then you confronted Sean, right, Doralee?
So yes, I thought he was there to watch the opposing team for my kid's sporting event, which would explain why I never saw him. Because we live in a town with 6,000 people. At one point, I ran for local office. Like, I feel like I know everyone in our town, right?
You're the mayor.
I wanted to be the town clerk. And so that was on a Thursday. On Monday, I spy him coming out as I'm pulling in again. So we're ships like passing because he's constantly leaving as I'm pulling in, apparently. And I'm like, oh, they do make dads like that in Shelburne. Because, I mean, he's a little more rugged than the men that are in our community.
Okay. Sean, I got to ask, how tall are you, bro?
6'1".
Damn you.
I will say he told me he was 6'2", and when we started, you did. They said with the hair, he's 6'2".
Love it. I'm 5'9.5". I wish for that extra inch, man. That's all.
Fair enough. Sometimes I wish I was shorter, to be honest, but
you know what? I was married to a man who was 5'8", and in a long-term relationship with a 5'9", so you got them both beat.
Right. But you know, like for me, as a single parent or single dad or single guy who's going in the online dating world, that's all women care about now is They say, please be tall. How tall are you? I'm like, oh my gosh, like I'm tall enough, but trust me, like my energy, my personality speaks volumes to be at least 6'5". So, but it just, some women just prefer tall men, which is fine. I get that, but
I think it goes with the feeling of wanting to be protected. So if you give off the energy of I am a protector, then women are going to see that in you.
That doesn't matter.
Yeah. Well, maybe I should grow a beard too, you know?
That's a thing. Yes. That was actually on my list. He had to be a bearded brunette or a silver fox.
Look at that. Case in point.
No blondes.
No blondes? Okay.
I'm not a blonde.
What if Sean was blonde though? Like what if he was like everything but just blonde?
Well, I was not drawn to like his physical appearance. It was literally the way this man carried himself. When the first time I saw him, he was solo, right? And then when I saw him walk out hand in hand with these two sweet girls, I vibrate on a high frequency, like meaning I'm happy. Like at my core, I'm a happy person, and that can really annoy people, right? Like people don't truly like to see other people happy all the time.
Why is that though, by the way? Just to piggyback off that, why do you think that is in today's society where people are like, oh, this person's way too happy. I don't want them to be in my life because I want to be miserable. Why do you think that is?
I think it's because they can't understand that people can have hardships and still feel good about things.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And I am a very happy person. And in one position, I actually had my employer say, Doralee, you got to be less happy. Like not everyone is as happy as you. And sometimes it's just like, you got to dial it down because you don't want to make them even madder.
That is so absurd.
I know. But so when I saw him walking out, he was hand in hand with these two like girls who were just beaming, and he was beaming and like swinging hands. And I thought, that is a high vibrational man, right? Like he finds joy in the little moments of just picking your kid up from school. Yeah. And then in that moment, like I didn't even park the car, talk to text, send message to Kim, Christina, and Jill. Who is this dad with a black truck? Is he single? He has 2 little girls. Is he single? No one else had ever seen him.
And these were the girls that worked at the school, right?
No, these were my mom. Well, one is a dad. Parent. These are parent friends.
Got it. Okay.
And so all of our kids go to the same after school program, and there's only like 50 kids in the program.
And it was at that point when no one recognized that she started talking to the staff a little here and there.
Yeah. Well, I have recognized that in the 8 or 9 months that I was intentionally single, I was only approached by men that I was absolutely not interested in. Right? There was never a time that I was asked out by a man who said, you seem really interesting. I would love to get a coffee.
And where were you meeting these guys? Where were these guys approaching you from?
Like literally anywhere. I would get asked out at the grocery store. I'd have my phone, someone slide a phone number to me. I have come out from Walmart and there was a note on my car. That's creepy.
I did that once. Not at a Walmart, but I did that once.
So there was one.
Though, it did.
But there was one time that I was sitting and reading a book. Like I brought at this indoor play gym for kids, and I brought my youngest daughter. I reading like deep in it, earplugs in. My kid's fine, right? I get up, I go to the restroom, I come back. Someone had put a note on top of my book for me instead of introducing themselves to me. Yeah. But anyway.
Well, let me ask you this though. Let me ask you this. Let's just say if Sean did that. Let's say if you had no idea who Sean was and he left you a note at school, would you ever give him a call?
I believe in experiencing an energetic connection at first. So that's why I didn't do online dating.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you feel that if you did write a very sincere note, though, do you feel like that you could feel that energy from the note itself?
If I knew who he was?
If you knew who he was, yeah.
Right.
Well,
yeah.
So for you, Sean, when you found out about her, what was your reaction when you found out that this girl she wanted to know you, she wanted to get to know you, she wanted you to be part of her life? What was your reaction?
Well, I walk in school. I think it was the last day of school, right?
It was.
Yeah, it was the last day of school.
Last day of part 2. I met him in the parking lot.
Yeah, so I get out of my truck, and I remember being kind of in a rush that day to get home. Single father, and I had my daughters full time, so my hands are full.
Yes.
I had left the gym again. I pull in there, I hop out of my truck, and I'm usually just trying to get in and out. Sometimes the kids drag and take a little longer. I'm focused on dinner and everything else that needs to get done at the house. And I see this woman and a man, and the woman is leaned up. It's a brick building, leaned up against a brick building. And as soon as I hop out,
kind of look cute.
She's like focusing her energy on me. Like I could tell that she was going to talk to me, and I wasn't necessarily in the place to want to have a casual conversation with anyone, to be frank. And I could just see she's zeroed in. I'm getting closer, and
meanwhile, Kim, I'm like, this is it, Kim. My friend that he's talking about is a man.
her wingman.
He's supposed to be my wingman. Our daughters are best friends. Yeah.
So, anyway, she like props herself up off the wall and takes a step or two towards me, and like the first words out of her mouth were, "Are you a fireman?" And I'm like a little confused at this point, and I was like, "What do you mean? No." She's like, "Oh, I just, I've noticed your truck around town, and I see it parked at this house of an old timer that's
right, like at the only stoplight in town.
It's been in town for a long time, and he was a long time firefighter. I don't know if maybe like you were his son and you bought his house or something.
Because he died."
Oh my gosh.
She's just like verbal diarrhea, just like.
Well, because then I was like, because I'm a townie, and now I live in my dad's house, and I just wanted to introduce myself. You're a townie too.
And I'm just kind of like, this is kind of strange, to be frank. I'm just like, I don't really know what's going on. And I figured that Kim was like her husband or something. And she's like, "Oh yeah, and this is my friend Kim." And he's just kind of looks at me.
He was scowling. I got angry at him.
And I'm like, "Oh, okay, this is weird. I think this woman's married and this guy's getting defensive." So,
oh my gosh.
Well, anyways, I got to pick up my kids. It was nice to meet you. My name's Sean. And that's when she said, "My name is Doralee." Very unique name. I've never heard before in my life. Right. And then Kim's like, "Yeah, I'm Kim. Nice to meet you." And I go inside, and there's a big long hallway, and I get to the gymnasium. And Ethan, the matchmaker Ethan, who he was the director of part 2. He's in charge there at the aftercare program.
There's a lot of matchmakers here already.
Yeah, I'm like, "Hey, Ethan, how's it going? Just here to get the girls." And he's like, "Oh, great, Sean. I need to talk to you about something." And I'm like, "What did my kids do?" They probably burned something or broke something. And he's like, "But it's not about."
Luckily, you're a fireman, though, right?
Yeah, yeah. And he's like, "But it's not about the kids." And I'm like, "Oh crap! What did I do? I'm in trouble or something." And he's like, "Let's come over here." And he like pulls me aside where no one's around. He's like, "So I don't really know like if you're comfortable with this or what your status is." And he just like kept kind of in the circular talk, like I don't know how comfortable you are and if this is okay or not. And I'm just like, what is going on right now? And he's like, "But I guess one of the parents of the student here is kind of taken a liking to you. And again, I don't know what your status is or if you're comfortable, but she's asked me to pass along her number. And if you're comfortable with that,
he offered."
Were you thinking like, please don't let it be Kim?
Right.
Oh no, Kim is actually a man.
I knew that. Right.
Oh, okay.
And then I'm just kind of like, "Oh, okay, sure, why not?" And then he starts kind of talking her up a bit, and he's like, "She's very nice.
Some stuff I would have said.
She was Mrs. Vermont in 2015 or whatever." And
were you really?
I was.
Right on.
And then he's like, "I
have a crown. It's in my closet."
And then he was like, she's a very energetic person. Sometimes a little bit of an oversharer.
It's my tiz.
So I was like, "Yeah, sure. Can you just like write the number down on a piece of paper?" And we're in a school, and of course there isn't any paper anywhere in sight.
Of course.
And I didn't have my phone. I left it in the truck. And he's like, "Here, I'll use the staff phone and I'll just text you her number. And by the way, her name is Doralee." I kind of thought for a second, and then I'm like, whatever. I get my kids.
Yeah.
I get home and I whip out the cell phone and I got the text from the staff, Doralee. And so then I draft a message, save the number, and I go, "So I'm pretty sure I just met you in the parking lot." And
wait, I want to pause for 1 second.
Yeah.
Because Ethan then messaged me, and bear in mind, as I was heading out, he's like, "Doralee, like, would you like me to give him your phone number? And I said, Ethan, I would never ask you. I've known him for years. I'm like, I would never ask you to do something that would make you uncomfortable. Doralee, if I was offering him, it wouldn't make me uncomfortable. Okay, sure. So after this scenario, Ethan texts me and he says something like the package has been delivered or the eagle has landed or something. And I was like, did you tell him that he just met me in the parking lot? That I just left? And he goes, no, but I told him your name was Doralee. And I was like, oh man, because I just introduced myself. And he goes, well, he'll probably put 2 and 2 together. And I was like, Ethan, men don't put 2 and 2 together anymore. But he did.
But real quick though, like when obviously Ethan knew exactly what you were trying to do. But when you first went up to Sean and told me that you're a fireman, how nervous were you?
Oh my God. I literally so to be very bold, right? Earlier at the end of March, I went on a few dates. That was my first date since I was 20 years old. The one in March of last year. So I had been with my husband for 14 years and then started seeing someone and there was no first date because it was just always, he was just there, you know?
Right.
That wasn't like this is a new person I'm meeting and I'm going out on a first date. So I truly have no game. Like I have no game.
You got game? What you talking about? Look at that.
It worked. But so I was incredibly nervous. I just knew that if it was a man that I was interested in, I needed to find a way to like drop a handkerchief at some point. Because as he said, that first interaction, he wasn't like open to really having a conversation. I just had verbal diarrhea and needed to like wipe my face up.
Yeah. And you caught him off guard with another guy who he thought was your husband.
I was like, Kim, you were supposed to be my wingman. You weren't saying anything. You were scowling the whole time. He's like, I wasn't scowling.
I think that's why, like, I didn't exactly click that the woman I met outside was the woman with the message immediately because I didn't see it as her asking me to pursue her in that moment outside the school.
I was putting out those like.
But then by the time I got home and started drafting a message, I realized that was her. So at that point, I just said, I think we met outside school, and
then I messaged Ethan. I said he put 2 and 2 together.
And then I said, maybe we should get together sometime. And then we did a very little amount of back and forth that night. Just she was making sure I was single. I was making sure she was single.
Okay.
And then
so you guys are kind of playing the game then a little bit, in a way, just to kind of make sure that it's safe waters.
Yeah, feeling it out.
Well, after his message, my first response was, "Oh yes, like pickups are chaotic. It's nice to hear from you. I hope, or does you responding mean you're single or something along those lines? Like I'm not gonna text back again unless you are."
And were you planning on doing this, Doralee? Were you planning on doing this alone, or did you say, "I need Kim to be with me just in case if I happen to faint and have some support"?
No. I'm truly not a shy person. Like I've got on a stage that was like internationally broadcasted in a swimsuit,
Well, hello.
No, I just wanted an opportunity where I could introduce myself. There was one, I was super excited for the year-end picnic barbecue for the aftercare program. And I saw him, we were walking in at the same time, but from opposite ends of like the rectangular parking lot. And we both walked kind of over to Ethan. I engaged in conversation with Ethan because it was like Ethan was the end of a triangle, right? We came from 2 totally different parts.
Yeah.
And Ethan just kept talking to me and not being like, oh, have you met Sean? And then he kept talking to me so I couldn't interject and be like, oh, I don't think I've seen you before. And Sean just grabbed his girls and left. I was like, where's my moment? How do I get to...
So for me, that was the first time I had noticed her and at all.
So can I ask you, Sean, that night when you got the love note from Ethan, when you got the green light, were you thinking a lot about her, or was it kind of too close to call because you didn't really know much about her, but you were very flattered?
Totally. To like reflect back on the online dating thing, that's where I was like, okay, it's easy for people to talk the talk. Let's see if we're going to walk the walk. And that's when I'm just, after we felt out the waters, we're both single, we'll get together. I let the ship sail at that point, and we'll see if she shows up on Saturday.
Saturday, okay.
So this was Thursday. We started texting Wednesday night and solidified plans on Thursday. And then I didn't hear from him till Saturday morning.
And then Saturday, I just sent a message. And of course, she was at work and didn't have her phone, so she didn't respond. So I was like, "Oh, look, there you go."
Yeah,
I was in. This is funny, a funny little tidbit. I was like talking. I have a group chat with two of my best friends, and I was just like, "Well, there you go. Just like online dating, make plans, and then they don't show up. We're supposed to meet in an hour and a half, and I haven't heard anything." It was pretty close, yeah.
No way. We were meeting at like 5.
And then it was like 10 minutes after that she responded. So then I wrote, "Oh, looks like she actually was busy at work. So I guess this means we're getting married." Just like as a joke.
He said that.
And then yeah, we met at a local pond right here to go fishing and go for a walk. And I don't think it immediately struck like we liked each other's presence and energy, but it was a little bit of that defensive, awkward kind of thing where we're not just totally carefree.
Did you feel the same way, Doralee?
100%.
Were you really nervous? Because like
Very
here it is. Yeah.
Well, so I think the whole interaction was
like an hour and 20 minutes.
Right, but when he was there and I got out of my car and I had just come from work and I said, "Hey, I have 2 drinks. Would you like one?" He's like, "No, I don't drink." And in his head, he was like, "Oh shit, she probably thinks I'm an alcoholic now." And then in my head, I'm actually not a big drinker.
Yeah.
And I was like, "Oh shit, now he thinks I'm an alcoholic." And so then it was just an interesting, like, how much do you want to share? Mm-hmm. Like, how deep are we going for conversations? Is it more like surface level? Are we going deep? And it was nice. And at the end, we both said "Oh, it'd be nice to do this again." And then he texted like within a quarter mile of leaving. And he said, "How about tomorrow?"
So after the first date, it was an hour and a half of a first date. And then after you guys left, then you said, are you down to go out tomorrow night?
Yeah. And that, to clarify, was tactical. Like I had, again, put a lot of thought and intention into dating and pursuing a relationship, and no more than around an hour for the first meetup with someone. Cause then you can casually just, okay, this isn't working after an hour. It's done. You know, you can go to the dentist for an hour and it's okay. But then after, you know, having that interaction and be like, okay, I guess she's not a weirdo or anything. That's when I asked if she'd like to get together again. And then her immediate response was like, "Oh yeah, I don't have anything going on. My girlfriend canceled for dinner if you want to come." I had gotten a sitter for that. So I didn't have the logistics planned out. And I was like, "No, but I think tomorrow we could do something." So then I planned a hike on a trail that was not too far away from here, and neither one of us had been on. And the real highlight was that there was a cave there.
Okay.
I remember in my 20s, I did carpentry and construction, and there was this wise old man, Ramey. He always dropped these wisdom bombs on us on like lunch break or coffee break. I remember one time he was saying, you know, if you're going to have a partner, you're going to marry someone, make sure that woman never loses her sense of adventure. And it just kind of stuck with me.
I like that.
At like a 22, 23-year-old.
Ironically, everyone, when I introduce myself and I'm like, "Hi, I'm Doralee," they say, "Oh, like Dora the Explorer?" And I legitimately, I feel like I should get a little button that says, "No, I'm Doralee the Adventurer."
I like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
But
go back on your first date real quick, because I know that at first it didn't seem like you guys were matching, right? Kinetically, it just wasn't a good fit. But like, what compelled you, Sean, to say, you know what? I'm going to give a round 2 because you don't really hear that a lot now. When people don't have a good first date, they're like, that's it. There's no way in hell we'll have a good second or third date. But what made you decide that this was it? Like, I got another chance with this one.
I don't think it was necessarily that it was like really weird or awkward or anything. I think we're both reserved in protecting ourselves from our past experiences and moving forward. And we're just kind of real weary about the whole thing because it was both of ours first real engagement into the whole dating world again. But
the conversation flowed. The conversation was great. We went fishing, so we were actively like catching fish, and I was baiting my own hook, and he's like,
"You caught more fish, by the way."
She caught 3 small ones, but I caught 2 really big ones.
There were 3 different species too, so that's important to know because I feel like that takes more talent. He got all that.
But like she said, it's not like there was like any awkward silence or dead spots in the conversation. It was active for the whole time. But there were just certain little moments and glimpses that I saw in her. Like we were leaving the parking lot. It was kind of a drizzly, rainy day that day. And there was a big night crawler on the gravel. And she bent down and picked it up and like brought it off of the road and set it down.
You gotta save those worms. They're important.
That was very intriguing to me. It told me multiple things that, you know, there's a level of kindness there and humanity. And then she's not afraid to get a little dirty. And I like to be very active. I do a lot of stuff outside. So that's important to me.
Sure. But for me, I don't know what your language warning is on this. Right?
Oh, you can say whatever the fuck you want.
Oh, fuck it. Okay. Fuck is my favorite word. On the second date, I don't know who asked, like, so what did you think of our time together yesterday? And when it got to my turn to share, I was like, I thought yesterday was really nice, but I think I told my friend, like, he seems nice, but he didn't drop the F-bomb once, and I don't want to feel like I'm the only one who swears, or that he, like, that he doesn't ever swear. And he was like, oh, I love to say fuck. I was like, oh, thank fucking God.
So that kind of touches on that reserved, you know, I was on my
Miss Vermont cussing? Oh my goodness.
But so, as soon as we like shared that, it was fine. It was fine. And you could almost feel the nerves go away at that point. Like, no, I want to see you. Yeah.
Interesting. Do you guys feel, let me ask you this though, do you guys feel like when people do curse on the first date, I'm not saying you guys, like, do you feel like that person thinks, oh, well, this person, I don't think this person knows a whole lot about like how to really talk to a woman, or vice versa? Because I would say fuck sometimes on a first date, and I felt like I would get like judged. But I feel like you guys obviously didn't get judged with each other, because look at you now.
No, I judged him that he didn't say it.
She judged me. I think I was coming from that same place of like just coming in easy and gentle and not jumping in the room. This is who I am. This is where I'm at.
Right.
Bear in mind, it's not as though it's every other word for me, but it's like, oh, that was so fucking cool. And it's not, I might say that was really cool, or that was really interesting, whatever, but in a pure moment of joy, like, oh. And I was raised by a mom who would take the hard dial soap and grind it in my teeth anytime I swore. And I was like, oh my gosh, if this man doesn't swear, like, I'm just going to think that he wants to put dial soap in my mouth.
But like, correct me if I'm wrong though, Sean, because, you know, as men, we want to be respectful. We don't want to be saying the wrong things. And I feel like if we curse a lot, women are gonna be like, this guy's a fucking sailor's mouth.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it's a different
quantity,
right?
Not quality.
Not the
right.
quality.
Like, you don't want a high quality or quantity. You want quality.
So say fuck the proper way.
Like at the perfect time. Like my brother will drop the F-bomb
like every 4 words.
Every 4 words. That's disgusting. But
where are you guys from originally, by the way, if I may ask?
Vermont.
You can tell because we don't say our T's. Vermont.
Vermont. Say it.
Vermont.
Vermont.
It's Vermont, but we don't say the T.
So people from Vermont don't say the T?
Correct.
Correct. That's why we call them
Interesting.
spuds, because it would sound weird to say potatoes. That's actually no, we do say, but yeah, Vermont state. Like we don't say the T if it happens in the middle or the end.
Shit, that's so confusing.
Right. We have a town called Milton, Milton. It's
Milton.
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 The
Okay.
unique dialect.
Sounds
I
like little
feel-
Philly there, you know, like fuck Milton, you know, like come on.
Yeah. But when
So-
the second date never stopped, essentially.
Right.
It was just uphill from there. So how are we doing the second date? It was
Just kind of meshed. I came to her house to pick her up. We took a little 20-minute drive down a dirt road. And then it's pretty much like, I feel like it was as soon as we got out of the car and walked on that like boardwalk path. There's like this boardwalk path going through a swamp. And there's all these boards in a row. And I remember like we both kind of looked at each other a little worried about what the other would think. And we're like, do these boards make your brain hurt? Because there's like this optical illusion of the lines, and we're very similar in a little bit of non-typical neurology, I think. Yeah. But from that point, the conversation really flowed throughout that hike and was very raw and real with a lot of depth. And it seemed like as we were talking, a lot of times she'd be saying something and I'd be thinking like, I'm going to say this as a reply or in response. And then she would like literally take the words out of my mouth prior to saying them. And back to the sense of adventure. So we're made it to the top of this small mountain at this point. And I know that there's this cave up here. I was like, here comes the big test. I was like, so there's this cave over here. Like, do you want to go in there? Sure. Let's do it. I have to be honest with you though. I had a brain injury. So I'm really worried about like hitting my head. This is what Doralee was telling me. I was like, I can help you down. The rocks are slippery and it's very steep. And I remember I went down before her and then I like reached up to help her and I like put my hands on her hips and just like felt her energy and helped her in a vulnerable place going down into this little cave. And you go down eventually and there's like, it's complete darkness in there. And she was just, despite her insecurities about her physical condition, she just,
like it was very slick. And imagine a very steep, and then I would have just hit and it would have been like the Plinko machine with my head bobbing around. I was nervous.
What was your reaction though? Because you're like, I'm going to this dark cave with this guy I've only known for 2 nights. Well, like, what was your reaction? Did you send like a share my location to your friends?
No.
You didn't send it to Kim?
No. I don't think I no, I didn't.
Did you guys kiss on the first date, may I ask? Did you guys kiss?
No.
No, okay.
Oh, do you want to hear the first kiss story? Because this is good. This was
So after this hike, we go for, it was probably 2 hours total.
Yeah.
A little longer than and then we're driving home and I'm going to digress a little. This is when she
Sure.
pulls out her list she was talking about.
my girlfriend Terry says Doralee, because I had been actively reading my list to people like, hey, if you know a man who sounds like this, bring him, point him to me. And she's like, don't bring your list out. I'm like, why, Carrie? I got to assess if he has the criteria that I'm interested. I'm like consciously looking, like actively looking for this. And I'm not settling for less.
Yeah.
He's going to think you're crazy and you're going to scare him away. I'm like, then he's not for me.
So she pulls out this list and I can tell she's feeling a little mixed about sharing it. She's like, would you want to like maybe hear it? And I was like, yeah. To me, I was like, this is a huge green flag right here.
Mm-hmm.
Intention and thought into a relationship and not just random emotions and butterflies. Like there's some thought here. This is what I'm looking for. And she starts rattling off everything on the list. And I kind of had a hard time like making eye contact immediately because like every bullet point, I was like, yes, me too. This is what I am looking for.
Like there were even politics on my list. And
Yeah. It's your list, right?
And it's hard to find that in Vermont.
Oh, is that right?
It was just like one thing after another, and then it just got deeper and deeper and closer and closer. So we ended up
Were you getting
driving
a little
back.
teary-eyed? Were you getting a little emotional? Yeah. You.
I think I was just like, I felt very happy, and I don't know, complete is a little too much at that point or not, but it was just like, yes, this is like, this is what I have wanted and fought for in the past, and it's just unfolding right in front of me right now. This is like, I want to see where this is going.
And
I will say,
oh, sorry, go ahead.
I will say that as we're going back and forth, we're sharing about our experiences of like the last 2 years. And I asked him a question, and he just turned and looked at me and answered with like the same inside lingo that my cousin and I use and whatnot. Literally like he was in my mind. And I was so caught off guard that my face was like, and I remember turning so that he couldn't see that my smile was like into my ear line. I was blown away. And I looked in the mirror and I was like, oh shit. Like, you are in trouble now, Missy, because he is
He's the one.
It was that yes.
So how long was the second date? Was it longer than the first, obviously?
So we had like a 2-hour hike. We drive back to her house, and at this point, I don't really know what to expect.
It's like 1:00 in the afternoon.
She invites me inside. She's like, I'm kind of hungry from the hike. Like, are you hungry? You want some food? And she made us food. And then she's like, get some time. You want to maybe play a game or two of cribbage? She's like the all-star at that game. I had played it like years and years ago when I was a little kid and couldn't really remember the rules and regulations. So she's like walking me through it and teaching me how, and we're still talking. And then I noticed at one point, maybe a game and a half in, this really smooth talking conversationalist is like starting to kind of like fumble her words.
It was embarrassing.
Not be able to stay on track. And then she's shuffling the cards and dropping them.
It can't be any worse than you calling him a fireman.
Yeah. And then at this point, I'll let you take over from there.
And I will preface this by saying I had dinner plans that night with a girlfriend. I was supposed to meet her at 4 o'clock, and then I pushed it back to 6 because it was going so well with him.
Yeah.
And then we're playing cards. And at this point, I'm like, just say the thing, right? Like, if it scares them off, then it scares them off. And I was embarrassed by how poorly I was playing. Like, I was fumbling very simple math. And I said, I'm sorry. I'm finding it incredibly hard to concentrate on this game because I can't stop wondering what it would be like to kiss you.
Oh.
And you know what he said? Oh.
Keep dreaming.
No, and then he just continued to play. And I was like,
I just looked at her and played it cool and just took that little piece of information and put it in my pocket to pull out at another time. And at that point, for me, that was like the go ahead, because no guy wants to be a creeper. Right. No guy wants to be rejected or denied. That doesn't feel good. Or pride or manhood, whatever you want to call it.
No good man.
Yeah, exactly.
And he's a good man.
So I was like, okay. At that point, I was like, when I get up to leave, I know what I'm going to do here. So we continue to play. I know she's running late already, a couple hours past when she's supposed to meet her friend. And I'm like,
it's time for me to go because I pushed it back 2 hours.
I was like,
Not her tease, bro.
I was like, you got plans, don't you? Like, oh, no, it's okay. I pushed it back. And then eventually she's like, all right. And she's sitting between me and the door on the table. And I was like, well, I guess I should let you go because you got your plans and we should do something else again. And I get up and I walk towards her and she kind of stands up out of her chair and looks at me. And again, I'm like a whole head taller than her. And then at that point, I just like put my hands on her, put my hand up
That's
there.
key. That's key.
Yeah, of course.
It was one here, one on the hip. That kiss lasted an hour and 45 minutes.
So dinner was gone? No dinner with the girlfriends?
Okay, they showed up an hour and 40 someone. I actually, if you have not seen my TikToks, I actually posted a video that I took that I sent to Christina on the car ride from our second date to her house. I was like, oh, it's had like 1.4 million views or something.
Wow, amazing.
That has been featured too. But like my whole face, and I have allergies right now, so I'm usually not an open mouth either, but my face was even more red. And it was, that kiss lasted an hour and 45 minutes. And then I went to Christina's
and then I get in my truck and leave. And I'm thinking, like, on the way home, I was like, man, I really didn't want to leave. Like, that was, like, pretty awesome. So I sent her a message, and I was like, a big part of me wants to turn my truck around and come back.
Mm-hmm.
And
I had a witty response.
And she was like, do it.
I mean, that wasn't the witty response.
Yeah, there was another.
I was like, is the big part?
I guess.
And
this is for adults only, so you're all good.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I turned.
And it was just kissing, but like that was the best first kiss.
The fact that I said, like, I want to turn my truck around and come back, and she was like, do it. I was like, you turn in the middle of the road, and her road comes off onto a larger road, and there's a big pull off there, and her car was there as I came back.
Because I was on my way to Christina's, who's like a mile away, and we made out on the side of the road.
Oh my gosh. So when you first kissed each other, when you both locked lips, did you have this feeling like, this is the girl, this is the guy that I don't want to kiss anyone else? Like, this is it. Did you guys have that type of feeling?
I didn't want my lips to ever leave him. And when I went to Christina's, I floated the whole way there. And she goes, oh my God. I just couldn't stop gushing about it. She goes, it sounds like you met your person. I was like, I think I did. I think I did. Yeah. And then 110 days after that second date, we got married.
So like, can we talk about that? Because I'm kind of curious to know like how you popped the big question. Like, were you nervous? Because I know you said you were married before, right?
Yeah. And I had kind of like sworn that off. I was like, I'm not really, I don't think I'm going to ever get married again.
You did not say that.
I did.
You said you were traditional. Oh, not when you were talking with me.
No.
Because you said that you wanted the traditional.
But that was one of the questions in the car on the second date. It was like, like, what is your intention in dating? And I was like, I'm trying to settle down and like find a wife. Like, I'm not just here to pass time. These are my intentions. And again, if that scares her off, so be it.
You're shooting your shot.
Yeah. So, all right, where were we? Marriage.
No, so I went away on a trip.
Yeah, so she left. We spent like 2.5 weeks together.
And then I went cross country. And then I was like, I'm too afraid. This man is absolutely perfect. I don't know if I should see you when I get back.
But we spent, after that first date, we spent literally 2.5 weeks together every day because both of our kids were gone with like summer things. It's just like a very unusual time period for both of us. And then, culminated with her leaving and going on a cross-country trip by herself.
I talked with them for like almost 40 hours.
Yeah, she's like, I don't know what you should expect. I don't know how much we're going to talk. And then she's calling me an hour after she left, 6 hours after she left. The next day,
I gotta blow my nose. Sorry.
Video calling me, look at the Grand Canyon, and like, but she kept kind of pushing me away. And was like, maybe we're jumping this too fast. Maybe we shouldn't.
It's supposed to be my experience for like spreading my wings and being an independent woman.
Oh, so you were pushing away for the right reasons because you wanted to focus on you and the trip, right?
Yes. Anytime I saw something cool, like I wanted to show it to him.
Of course.
And then in the process of being on the road for 12 days, I realized like, this is going so well. Am I really totally healed enough to be a good partner,
And was this a road trip you went on by yourself?
Yeah, I went 12 days. I just got in my car. I put Zion in as the destination.
Yeah.
I never made it there, but I went 6,144 miles all by myself with my little pop-up camper on top.
Why didn't you get there?
What's that?
Why didn't you get the
It
Zion?
wasn't meant for me. I wanted to go to, is it Angels Passing? And I didn't get the thing, but I went to Bryce Canyon. I went everywhere. I went to Grand Canyon. The coolest thing, and Sean, he was there for both there, like on FaceTime, but we saw the sun set in the Grand Canyon, and then I drove through the night and watched the sun rise at the Four Corners.
Wow.
Yeah.
But she kept kind of pushing me away on that, which was this push-pull thing where, and at one point I remember sending her a message like, I noticed, what was the word that you used? Your
actions aren't matching.
No,
I don't.
But how are you feeling though, Sean? Because like for me, like as a man, when I feel like women are pushing me away, I get like a little defensive, like, well, what did I do wrong? You know, like, and I feel like that's not just me or you, but like a lot of men, if they feel that they're getting pushed by women, they're like, you know what, I'm not going to waste my time because obviously she doesn't care. But like, what made you decide to just stay strong with this? Because you felt this connection with her and you didn't want this to disappear.
Yeah. So that probed us. I sent her that message and I was like, I am noticing the effort that you were putting in. And she later told me, she was like, when I sent that, she's like, oh shit, he's right.
Well, because I had said that I don't know if I'm 100% ready. I could see that this was not going to be like a casual thing, you know?
100% ready to be in a relationship?
I didn't know if I was healed enough to be the partner that I wanted to be.
I see.
In my next relationship. And that I had some healing to do. And that this man was literally everything that I ever wanted. And I got scared that I would fuck it up. See, that was a perfect use of that. And I came home on a Tuesday and there were flowers that he picked for me and a note. And I met my friend and he's like, don't see him tonight. You haven't seen him for 12 days. You just miss him. Like, I do miss him like a lot, but I also feel like he was on the trip with me.
Why would your friends say don't miss him? Like, it's because like they knew that you were going through the healing process?
No, it was more of like you've been single for what, 8 months. Like, this is like, go slow. You just got back. Make him wait a day. Don't go see him tonight. Make him wait. I'm like, I'm not into playing games.
Right.
Like, Sean texted me within half an hour of getting my phone number. He messaged me a quarter mile down the road after our first date. Like, that was on my list. No games. So I didn't want to play games and I wanted to see him. So I went over to his house. And there was road construction happening and there was a flagger right at the end of the driveway. And like, I went over after dinner, the next night too. And there was a flagger there who had to stop traffic so I could get out. And as I'm backing up in my cute little Miata with the top down so I could talk with him so easy, I said, if you see my car here 4 nights in a row, then that means I'm in love. So you better like keep an eye out. And on that third night, Sean, I don't even know. He was like, somehow, I was like, fine. Yes, I love you. Yeah. He's like, I know you do. I'm like, yeah, I'm probably going to marry you. He's like, I know.
Oh.
On the 4th day back. Yeah.
So what if it was 2 nights? You still be okay with that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it all happened fast. And I hosted, we have an annual first day of school brunch where there are anywhere from like 8 to 16 moms that get together and spend the whole day eating and drinking and enjoying the quiet and, celebrating that. And my girlfriend spilled something. She's like, can you get this off my shirt? Can you wash this? So I'm like, yeah, sure. And I'm over there washing. She goes, that's a pretty ring. And I was like, thanks. And I'm wiping her shirt and she goes, and I'm looking at her. She's like, why are you looking at me like that? Is that an engagement ring? Like, it is. She goes, to who? I'm like, Sean, you've met him like 4 times. Yeah. But it was when when you know. And for the first time in my life, once I stopped being my own self-sabotager and like pushing him away out of fear that it was just going to go downhill like every other thing, because that's the hard part, right? Like that's the cycle breaking. You want some level of self-preservation. Like you might want to wait to fully open up and allow someone in, but then you're not being able to authentically share yourself.
It's a big risk. It's a huge risk. Like right now with a lot of my guests and myself, like we risk the fact of opening our heart or giving our hearts to anyone because we don't know if that person's going to take it for one day and then throw it out the next. It's hard. It's hard to do that.
But here's the beauty. You're not afraid to give your heart to someone.
Right.
You're afraid that they're going to hurt it.
Exactly. Yeah.
So what if you shift your perspective into thinking the best outcome is what is going to happen? And whether that means that there's a little bit of heartache in the next time that you try and date someone, because that experience, maybe you go out on 3 dates with someone and at the third restaurant, you're like, no, this isn't really working out, but you liked that restaurant and it was your first time going. So then you go back and then you meet a cute regular there, right? But you would never have known about that restaurant had you not gone on that experience. Like you are, if you're open to it, you're on the path to finding your person.
Now, for both of you, what type of message can you tell listeners who are hopeful that they can meet love like you guys did? Right, let's just say we got some single parents who are listening and saying, you know what, I am the single parent. I've got a lot that I can provide to my next person. But they're so timid to make that confrontation, to pass on to a friend to get a number. Like, what type of message can you send them to give them some hope that this can actually happen to you? Case in point.
We live in...
I love how you looked at him. He's like, do you want to take this?
We live in a state with barely over 600,000 people. We live in a town of 6,500 people. We beat the odds, right? If it can happen in our small town, it's a very affluent town and there's not a lot of divorcees. Like, there's not. And if we can meet, there's just be open.
Yeah.
Inauthentic. I think that's where a lot of people go wrong. And I've gone wrong in the past, and I know Doralee has as well, is that I don't want to use the word desperate, but I'm going to, for that connection and love, that we're unauthentic in order to secure and grasp it. And the key in dating and pursuing is to be authentic. And sure, there's going to be levels of compromise in any relationship, whether it's romantic or not. But to really understand yourself and things that you're not willing to compromise on, and things that will turn from a small pebble into a large boulder over time and duration of compromise. I feel like a lot of us get into situations by ignoring small little things that are against our true selves, and they end up over time building resentment, unhappiness. And then you wake up one day and are like, this is just nothing I want. And it's that small erosion over time.
It's beautiful. So speaking of small to big, like you guys coming from a small town, you informed the Today Show about your amazing love story, and here you are, like the whole world knows about your guys' story. Right, when you think about it.
It's crazy. So the video that I shared on how Sean and I met has like 2.7 million views. We've been featured in Today, People, Upworthy, Newsweek, like it, even in the Independent in the UK. And the irony is Sean on our second date said, would you want to be famous? Would you ever want to be famous? And I said, well, like there was a time in my life when I was Mrs. Vermont and I was in newspapers and everything. No, like I don't even have social media. I think that if any reason for me to be famous, it would be for sharing like the authenticity of a positive message.
Yeah.
And that's what's blown up.
And I think
But
that's so important to hear this type of love story because you see all the negative things on TV, right? The naked reality TV shows. I don't know what the fuck they are, but I don't watch that shit. But
right.
people see all like the negative aspects of online dating and relationships. And I'm like, stop fucking watching that shit.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That's where we come in to let you guys know that that is not love. This
Right.
is love. This is how it should be.
Well, I will say, as someone who's not on social media, right? And I have TikTok. I feel like that's completely different. I don't know. Sean pulled up one of the articles on Instagram, and I was like, I started crying. Like, I really
Yeah,
cried.
it kind of plays on what your dialogue earlier in the conversation. I feel like so many people are so jaded from those experiences you talk about in media and shows. Negativity is so much easier to grab onto, to regurgitate, and that when a positive thing shines through, it's so easy to cast stones and to speak negatively. So like, it was hard seeing on some of those articles just some of the awful, sad comments, but I understand that they're coming from a place of being
Yes.
sad
Sure.
and not being happy and not being elevated to where they can be.
But the amazing thing is all of the comments on like TikTok and on the video, they were all positive. Like, yes, look at you are glowing. Look how big your pupils are. You're so happy and in love. Meant to be. You found your person. Where on like Instagram, it was, wow, if a guy did that, could you imagine? Like,
Oh yeah, be castrated.
right? But I'm like, what are you talking about? We both had to be.
Yeah. But I think it all comes down to like perspective is through personal experience. So, and even I, before this happened, couldn't have perspective or understanding as to how good things could be until I experienced it.
Amazing.
We went to dinner, or not dinner, to brunch with our moms. His mom came up from North Carolina. This was the first time they had met, and at brunch, they're like twinsies. It's kind of cute.
Yeah, they're like wearing the same clothes.
Like a
That's so nice.
patterned like short / capri and a solid top that matches, and they have the best humor, and that matches.
Do you call each other's mom's mom?
No, I call her I call his mom Nanny because that's what the kids call her.
Got it.
Or Tracy. Yeah. But we're sitting there, and my mom had met Sean several times at barbecues, birthday parties, whatnot. But this was truly the first time where,
For the first sit down type of thing.
like, it's a one-on-one, and each of the moms like grilled us with a question, and that was cute. But halfway through, my mom, who's not an emotional person at all, just got the chin quiver, and tears started dripping down her eyes like she had to grab a napkin. Like, what? She goes, I get it now. I get it. The way you two look at each other and you have an entire conversation in just one look. That is how, and it was her husband who passed. That's how we used to look at each other. And they were together for 25 years.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. But to see my mom, like, yeah. My sister, everyone cried because, I mean, for years I was literally told, I have a screenshot with my sister. I'm communicating with her after I finished that. And I said, look, I don't want someone who sends me a good morning, beautiful text. I want someone who says, I hope today gives you multiple reasons to smile, and I can't wait to hear about them. Right? Like,
Sean, I'm going to steal that, by the way. If that's all right.
But my sister says, I think you have high expectations. She bawled when she was the one who performed the ceremony. She, like, the whole reception, she was just crying. I knew you, I'm your person. I knew it. And I'm like, oh.
Who's crying between the two of you? Any of you? Either one of you cry?
Oh God, we both, in the beginning, we both cried all the time.
Yeah.
He has to be the most masculine and emotionally intelligent yet vulnerable man. Like, it's a very unique combination. But he would tear up and he'd be like, I'm really sorry. Yeah. I'm sorry for crying. It's just,
this is not how I've ever been treated in the past when a situation like this occurred, and it's literally everything that I've wanted, and vice versa. Yeah.
By the way, am I holding? I know it's late. Am I holding you guys? Are you guys okay on time?
No,
We're good.
Just a
It's-
chill Friday night.
It's a teenage.
Okay.
We can't even see a clock, so it's kind of like we're. I
I
don't.
don't casino in here.
Yeah.
No clocks.
So
Actually, we don't own. There's not a clock in the entire house.
Yeah, I don't think so.
You guys are like Las Vegas.
Yeah.
In the casinos, there's no clock.
Yeah. No, I don't want to look at time. That's just a concept. I'll have an alarm go off when I need to leave the house. Yeah.
I love it. But let me ask you this, if that's okay, because I know when you're telling me about your road trip, about how you were kind of, I don't know, pushing Sean away in a way, but not really, because you said you weren't healed. When did you come to that point that you felt that you were fully healed?
I mean, one could argue that I'm not necessarily fully healed. And will someone ever be fully healed throughout their life? That planning that trip was the first time in my entire life where I was going to be independent. And so even though we were enjoying our time together before, I was very adamant, like, I'm nervous to hop into a relationship right before I am supposed to go and explore and spread my wings and not have a care in the world. And yet, throughout the course of that trip, I was calling, oh, you've got to see this. You've got to see this. You've got to see this. And he was sending me songs, and the connection was growing, and that scared me.
Sure.
Because I felt like I was going to return and we were instantly going to be this like sweet old couple, because that's how it was naturally evolving, right? We weren't getting lost in all the physical stuff. We were truly getting to know each other through conversation. And that was amazing. It was amazing.
I think that I identified when you clicked and opened yourself up to it that night I came here and you cried.
It was in the shower, wasn't it?
Yeah, that too.
So you guys remember everything, though. You guys remember certain instances, which is
We
great.
do. I cried, and I looked at him and I said, I just want to be able to love you, or I wish I could love you in the way I want.
It was like a week after she came back from her trip, and there's like a outdoor concert series in town here.
That was before the trip.
Was it?
Yeah.
I thought that was afterwards.
No.
Wasn't that the night you cried?
No.
So it was like, oh.
That was the Friday I got back.
For it.
Yeah. Anyway, that was it. And he never wavered in encouraging growth. I don't know how to describe it. I was just afraid of letting him down. I was very afraid.
Interesting.
And through those 8 months, like, I was rejecting people left and right. And like that, I hope that doesn't sound awful, but this was the first time that like I was truly interested in giving my time to someone. And that scared me, because I had, in my whole life, I haven't been used to accepting people. I've been used to being like, no, I'm married, you know. I was married for 14 years. And yeah.
What about you, Sean? Like, because you know, for men, like, we are not open about being vulnerable about our emotions and feelings. You know, I feel like you and I are very, very similar. But man, I can't tell you both like how many guests that I talk to, mostly women, who are so frustrated with men because they feel like all they encounter are narcissists. The men who are emotional, don't really show their feelings, don't have vulnerability and humility like we did. Like, how can we, like you and I, how can we help these men out there to let them know, put your egos aside. There are great women out there like Doralee. We need to let them know that we can be vulnerable and it's okay to show a little of that side.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a really complex topic and really spot on for where a lot of difficulties come in relationships with men, because, you know, as you're growing up in society norms and Hollywood is like, you're supposed to show up and be a rock and be tough. And rocks don't have emotions. They don't have feelings. They're statues. So finding a balance of having a masculine energy balanced with the emotional intellect to work through problems, because in any relationship you're going to get emotionally triggered and be upset. It's from that point and how you deal with it and communicate where you're going to find success or not. So a lot of people are going to shut down, their walls are going to go up. No, everything's fine. You can only do that so many times until resentment is going to build in you and it's going to turn into a larger problem. So like understanding what you're feeling and why you're feeling that way. And just really putting in the work into yourself. Like, I'm a big advocate for like therapy. I've gone to therapy for like the last 2.5 years and learned so much about why and how I operate, but more importantly, like why, like things that happened to me growing up that have created those triggers and making those walls go up, and understanding those, and that a lot of those aren't healthy and they don't work with other people. They work inside of yourself as coping mechanisms to be safe and feel emotionally safe. But working through those things is super important. Yeah. And the person I was 3-4 years ago wouldn't be here in the same capacity I am now. Yeah. And I feel like life is just constant growth and education in every aspect, and not to really ever settle in who you are, and that you should constantly be evolving and changing.
Yeah. And like Doralee said, we're not completely healed, which is fine, because I feel like a part of that still keeps us alive. Lets us know that we have whatever happened in the past. We've got that trauma to let us remind ourselves that we still got things to work on, but we still keep ourselves alive with that trauma.
And that's a big part of like in our own interpersonal dynamic, is like, if something's not going right, and this is something that's much different than anything in my past, we will like be completely, we have this thing where we say like total transparency right now, which is like kind of prefacing the other person, I'm going to say something that's uncomfortable to hear probably right now, possibly triggering, but this is like the most honest and transparent dialogue. Yep. And we'll say like, so you kind of like, I touched your shoulder and you just walked away from me. That triggered me and hurt my feelings and made me feel like you didn't want my attention. And this is how it made me feel.
This is literally how we talk.
And then I will give her space to explain, oh, I had a phone call, the dryer dinged. I had no intention of doing anything like that. I do love you. I do care about you. And that's where, like I was saying earlier, just like being completely authentic. And it feels weird, like a lot of the time, to say like, I'm triggered because you grunted when you walked into the bathroom, and now I think you hate me and that you want to leave, But like,
no, I'm annoyed I have to pay for the 7th time.
It's those little things that we do every day that accumulate to the success, and that will contribute to other people's successes. Yeah. And again, it's like, it feels silly, and a lot of things really feel unnatural, but after time and in practice, it makes everything better.
I will say that I just stitched a video. There was a woman asking people who are married. Everyone always says marriage is hard, but what about it is hard? Mm. And I shared my response. I said, I'm going to say something that's completely unexpected. I was married for 14 years before. Like, I've been married twice, married 14 years before, and now I am with my person. And the type of hard of this marriage is unlike anything, because it is full of like self-reflection and recognizing that you have to look inward and breaking the unhealthy responses that you may have had in the past, and looking inward and growing together, because it's not always this in a relationship. It's a lot of this. And so women, I'm so sorry, it's stuffing up, and but women who are finding themselves with a lot of narcissists, right? You can weed them out very easily. Tell me about your last relationship, and why did it end? If it was all this, there hasn't been much of this, and you want someone who can do this. And in a scenario, I or he will say, I'm really sorry. I just reacted in a harsh way because in the past, like I prepared for this kind of reaction. And that's the energy that I was ready to receive. And thank you for being the person you are now.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah. I definitely do. That's actually one of the things I do want in a woman is someone who can identify problems, if there happens to be any, identify it now, let's resolve it now, and let's move on with our night, right? Mm-hmm. Because again, it's like you said, it's not about just me. Like, let's work on this together. Let me help you. What do you need from me? What can I do to make this relationship better?
Mm-hmm. Yes, self-accountability in these moments.
100%.
And I think, like you were saying before, that's what's really hard, specifically, I think, for men a lot of times is, okay, I did do this, and it did affect us, and I did choose not to talk to you and give you the silent treatment for 3 hours, and it made this small problem turn into something larger.
We've had that conversation a couple times.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Not many men can say that. Like, honestly, if I were to grab a guy outside right now, he would be like, nope, I don't talk about that. I feel like that, like, there's too much machismo. Like, the ego is so high. It's like, you guys got to step it down.
And through, like, doing these practices and learning from any type of difficult situation we go through, it allows the fuse to be shorter, the time period to be shorter, and to process and move through those things more effectively in a shorter duration of time.
Yeah.
And be happy.
Yes.
I've got a really... Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I shared a really vulnerable message on my TikTok. It was one that I had wrote to my best friend. And when I say best friend, I mean, she has been my best friend since we were 17. I'm 39. So she has seen me be like a goofy teenager in high school, you know, carefree in my younger 20s, got married at 22. She was there for the birth of my kids. Like, she's known me through every stage of my life and helps hold me accountable. And I sent her a really self-reflective message where I said, I just caught myself in a negative. Oh, do you have it? I think.
Keep telling your story. I'll see if I can pull it up.
I just caught myself in a negative cycle with Sean. And I recognized that I had to break the pattern of responding just to feeling the eggshells that there were between us and that he was walking on. And I was so focused on the eggshells and being angry that they were there instead of having appreciation.
Oh, that's not it.
That's not it. Instead of having appreciation for the fact that this man is showing up. Here it is. And this is, so if anyone is wondering what kind of shadow work needs to be done, like on yourself, when you might recognize, I have some healing work that I need to do, and this person is showing me that healing work. This was the message.
This is a good example of it.
And I'm so thankful that I have Sean, who encourages this level of growth, and I have my very best friend who I can share this growth with.
Sure.
I literally just caught myself in a negative cycle on Monday. That conversation happened late and I got defensive. It was not going well. That morning, the day after, I read his note and I projected and assumed it his message. He came into the restaurant with the girls for lunch and I could feel his apprehension, like he was walking on eggshells. I resented him for being, I didn't do anything to make him comfortable. I resented him for being on eggshells. I recognized I wasn't bringing anything healthy to the interaction after he left. I stepped out and called him to smooth things over and communicate about what I was feeling. Then I still didn't feel at peace with it because I recognized what I was actually being resentful of. I wrote it out because I was at work and I sent it to him. I recognized that I was responding from a place where I was constantly reading my mom's energy as a kid, when I was constantly reading blank's energy during our relationship. All I wanted was when I was with blank was for him to say, I'm here. I'm not going anywhere. We're going to get through this. I wanted for him to show up and physically remind me of his presence. Sean did that. He physically showed up at work knowing the energy was off. What did I do? I read into his morning message from a negative perspective. His morning text message didn't feel emotionally connecting, so I read into that as it being avoided and dismissive of the big conversation we had the night before. When he showed up walking on eggshells, I was resentful of the eggshells. Instead of being appreciative of this fact that this man has showed up for me, he tried over and over. I'm not going to lie. I'm getting a little emotional right now because I'm using talk to text. He literally did everything I ever wanted in my last relationship, and I was cold to him. I'm not perfect, and I have a lot of growth to do. I'm thankful for his patience and willingness to show up. Yeah, I do have faith in his ability to show up. But like, that is the kind of stuff. I didn't even realize that I was bringing that to the table, and then I felt awful that I brought that to the table.
But like you said, it's like a defense mechanism, right? I mean, you didn't know. You wanted to protect yourself. That's beautiful, by the way, Doralee.
Thank you. Thank you.
I think if I were to add to some of that advice too, I feel like reading some books is super helpful. Especially there's 2 books in general.
Attached. On the second date, or maybe the first, is like, if you read the book Attached, he's like, oh yeah, I have my own copy.
And then this one's like really a hard read, but The Body Keeps the Score.
Why was it a hard read? Just
it's a lot of like psychology trials and it's really
very dry.
It's really dry. It's clinical, if you will. But it gives a lot of insight into why we are the way we are and how those things have developed, and that your experiences build those walls that eventually you don't see those walls anymore. And they become so natural and they're ingrained into your actual body.
Yeah, I don't know if I can read that one.
Yeah. But it's very eye-opening in being able to understand those bad habits that have turned into virtual stones inside of your emotions, and how to navigate and move around them.
Well, I mean, all of our trauma responses can in some way dictate to others what our traumas were, right? If you encounter someone who says, oh, I don't need anyone, like I could take care of myself, that's because they've never had someone consistently show up for them, right? So they've learned to do that. Or for the people who say, God, I could never trust a man, or I could never trust a woman, that's because someone broke their trust. Like all of the trauma responses, I'm never going to let anyone in. Well, that's because you did let someone in and you got hurt.
Of course.
So all of those trauma responses are based out of fear of it reoccurring.
Yeah. I remember when I was with my ex-girlfriend, the one that broke my heart, I always wanted to be there for her. I always wanted to make that clear, but unfortunately she wasn't like that, the type of person that would open herself up to me or anyone. Maybe she is now, but you know, the fact is that you want to be there for people, but unfortunately some people just don't want you to be there because, like you said, they didn't have a support group in the past. So I feel like hopefully in time people will start to open up as they start to see that there's people that want to be in their lives, people that want to share that turmoil and that fear. So I think people need to open up a little bit more now.
Yes. And I will say that I wholeheartedly believe that the moment people truly, wholeheartedly, authentically love themselves for who they are and have appreciation for what they bring to the table, that is when they are going to be able to accept love.
Yeah. Yeah. And
like,
just relax.
Yes.
Relax. Like this book, by the way.
Oh, yes. You did it. Easiest read, right?
Oh, Sean, so when I was talking to Doralee in the beginning, she was telling me, she's like, you got to get this book called Outrageous Openness by Tasha Silver. And I bought it, and it's so crazy how true and like how much I feel like, yes, this is how it should be. You just got to just relax. Don't rush. Don't stress about the small things, because the universe will provide it to you one way or another. It'll come full circle. Well, no, it's an amazing book. Amazing book. Thank you.
That book, I'm so glad you read it. I'm so glad you found enjoyment from it.
I actually reached out to her, by the way. I actually reached out to her to see if she'll come on. So fingers crossed. So.
Oh my gosh, I want to watch that. Like I love that book. I have recommended it. Anyone who is open to experiencing a shift of perspective, right? Yes. But everyone, as I was preparing to embark on my personal journey, I was literally told that I'd be safer bringing a man that I didn't even know on the trip with me. And I'm like, no, the universe is looking out. I'm going to be fine. The universe is going to introduce me to the people I'm supposed to meet. Like, I'm going to drive down the roads I'm supposed to drive on. I'm going to see the things I'm supposed to see. And it did just that. I had faith all of the time. Yeah.
That's all it takes is faith. Well, I got a real crazy question to ask you both here, because again, I never asked this, but let me ask you both here. What type of flavor was our cake?
Oh, the wedding cake?
Yeah.
Oh, it was a carrot cake.
Cheesecake?
No, it's carrot cake. Because I know if I had to choose an actual cake, carrot cake with like the cream cheese frosting, and I can't have wheat. And there is a gluten-free bakery, and they specialize in carrot cakes. Ooh. So it had truly been, I don't know, 3 years since I've had a carrot cake. It's in the freezer, the top tier. We're waiting to eat it. You know, it's kind of big enough. Maybe we could take a little bit out.
No, we gotta wait till October.
Yeah.
But I know. So cheesecake for you, Sean, and then carrot cake for you, Doralee.
Yeah.
Now, are we talking like pineapples or raisins in our carrot cake?
Carrots.
Carrots, okay.
Carrots and like cut up raisins. None of that full stuff. Those are just a little too sweet.
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah. I know. Cheesecake Factory, they fuck it up. So, yeah, they ruined it.
Yep. But this was like a perfect cake.
Yeah, it was so good.
With gold like specks on it. Yeah.
Oh, you guys send me a picture.
Yes. Yes. Well, don't get us started on the photographer. That was the one big thing that we wanted, and there was not a lot of frameable photos.
Oh yeah. When I got married, my our photographer, I asked for one thing. I said, take a picture of my brother and I, and didn't even take one picture of us. That was like the one picture I wanted.
Oh.
So
yeah, I said a pet peeve of mine is cutting off the legs, but this is a wedding, so you're probably not going to do that. But please don't cut off the legs. Cut off at mid thigh for me and most, or like at my knees.
Oh my gosh. I'm sorry.
And so that means it's cut off like at his ankles.
Well, here you guys, rent a tuxedo, wear the wedding dress. Let's do it all over again. I mean, I'll fly out there too. You know, come on. We'll have some carrot cake.
October is beautiful.
I would love to come. I would love to come to Vermont.
Yeah, you got it. You got it. Yeah, we won't let you say your T's.
I will, I promise. So I got a closeout question for you guys. I ask my guests this all the time, and maybe this is a wedding song for you guys. If there's a song that helps soothe, groove, or move, tell us what's the name of that song and what genre. Sean, you're up.
For song, Sweet Symphony. Your Love is Sweet Symphony by Chris Stapleton.
He's the guest singer though. What's the name of the girl?
Joy. I'm gonna look it up real quick.
Oh yeah, something. But when we were getting married, we decided we should probably have a song, right? And Joy
Oladokun.
Ola Duncan.
What's her first name again?
Joy.
Ola Duncan.
Okay. But Sweet Symphony with Chris Stapleton. And we laid on the bed. It was kind of dusk, right? We just had the music really loud, and we pulled up like love songs or whatever. And
we were trying to find our song. We were like,
a
month out from when we were going to get married.
Yeah. And it was like skip, next, skip. And this song came on, and absolutely every lyric, even down to like the heavens watching down. My dad passed.
Sorry.
Like, just thank you. But so there were just a lot of things. He pulled up the lyrics. Are you going to sing it?
No, you're the.
Oh, I would love to see that. Come on, Sean.
Come on, John. I can't even. You can't hear me talk out of those right now. Let's hear you sing it.
No, I can't.
I'm
I have a
hearing you,
terrible
Junkie.
voice. Yeah.
But I can't. Here we go. I get weak whenever you're around. I lay my walls down, lay my weapons on the floor. I'm skipping down. Wrong. We'll get things wrong, but as long as we keep every promise we make, we'll stay whole. Like, it's so real because we are two imperfect humans.
Yes.
Who are going to make mistakes.
Yep.
Who are going to succeed. Yeah. But I think it's the growth.
Oh, we're gonna tear you out here.
Right?
No, absolutely. Yeah. Like, and please tell my guests here that it's okay to find imperfections in others. It's okay to be imperfect.
Yes.
You will find someone, and it's not gonna be perfect, but you guys can work on it together.
Cover your ears. Okay. Like, can you hear me? So I went early on. I was like, Mom, yes, I love him. No hesitations. I love everything about this man. And she goes, what about his sneakers, Doralee?
Oh, you already told me this.
I did tell you that.
Is the sneakers program scale of 1 to 10? 10 being amazing. How's your sneaker program on the scale of 1 to 10? 10 being amazing.
Probably only like a 6.
No, they're very
they're just very bright.
They're very bright. And like everything I wear is white or gray. Yeah. They're bold sneakers. They're very bold sneakers. And
I gotta see a picture of this.
He got married in them.
Yeah, let me grab my wedding
shoes. Get your
that's dope.
So when I'm a barefoot person, I'm always barefoot. Like I'll even run outside to my car in the middle of winter barefoot. And he got married in these. But the point of that is, I'm like, Mom, he's absolutely perfect. Like, he's perfectly imperfect. What about his shoes? I'm like, I love that he loves those shoes and that is like, that's him. And even though they're my favorite shoes, I'm excited that he has the confidence to himself. He's bringing him right now.
He's got to put him on and sing the what's it called, the Sweet Symphony. Just break out the tux, buddy. Oh, they're so cool. That's more than a 6. I would say that's a hard 8. I like the color. Those are Converse, right?
What's that?
Are those Converse?
No, those are DCs actually.
Oh, DCs? Okay. Those are dope.
My 13-year-old says too, oh, DCs.
Yeah. What? They're comfortable. They slide on and off.
And they're high ankle support.
That's all that matters.
Yeah,
it's all that was comfy.
I was like, Mom, he likes shoes like Weston, who was my 12-year-old at the time.
Hey,
but
those are sick. I like those. Don't be a hater.
Yeah.
You know what's even more sick are the ones she got me for Christmas.
Yeah, and then it turned out that you're not supposed to buy a man shoes because it means he's gonna run away from you. Apparently, that's an old wives' tale.
Okay. These ones aren't as bright and cool. They're just like a forest green or whatever.
Oh, I didn't see them.
Oh, green.
Oh, those are really cool. I like those.
Sport shoes are usually flat, and if it's wet, you slip and slide over. These ones have like insane traction, so you can like run up the wet grass. You don't slip and fall. No, I don't skateboard at all.
Yeah.
So comfortable though.
But I think when you find your person, you're not looking for perfect because at that point you recognize that you're imperfect. And I think that gives me the freedom to openly be my imperfect self because of the love and acceptance I have for this man and his imperfect self. Does that make sense?
It does.
You described it once as being more and more of a weirdo because you're so comfortable.
Oh my God, I did. I told him, I was like, I think I sunk more into my tiz. Like, I've never not masked about anything. I'm just, unfiltered. I get to share all of those little weird thoughts. And only sometimes he looks at me like I'm crazy.
In a good way, though.
Yeah.
See? He fucking loves you.
I know.
And I said fuck the right way, right?
Yes, you did. Yes, you did. I love that. I love that. And literally, I can only speak for myself. I've so thoroughly enjoyed talking with you. And it means a lot that you read that book, because that was a life-changing book for me. Yeah. That was a life-changing book.
I gotta say, like, I was so excited for this episode, and like, I cannot thank you guys from the bottom of my heart. Like, for you guys being here, taking the time. Shit, I'm sorry, I'm a little emotional here.
You're good.
No, I really cannot thank you guys. And Kira, when she's listening, like, love you, girl. Thank you guys. Hey, I'm sending you guys much love. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.